Okay, as we said, why do we have so many leads? Why we have 12 ECG leads? Why one lead is not enough? Um, Here's this picture telling you why. Um, because each lead or each two leads or sister lead, or we can say two accompanied leads, tell you about different surface or different wall of the heart. هەریەکە و شوێنێکی هارتت پێ ئەڵێ کاتێک کێشەیەک لەو لیدانە هەبێ مەبەستمان وەیڤەکانی ئەو شوێنە کێشەیەکی تیاوێ ئینتەرڤەڵەکان کێشەیەکی تیاوێ یانی چی؟ یعنی ئەو بەشەی هارتە ئەفێکت بۆ ئەو کێشەی هەیە. So when there is abnormality in two accompanied leads, means that this part of heart or this wall of heart is affected by that abnormality. The abnormality will be in the form of, for example, ST elevation or some change in the waves, T inversion. You will take all these later. For example, it's ischemia, so you say this is ischemia of that part of the heart. If myocardial infarction, you will say myocardial infarction of that part of the heart. For example, let's start from here. Inferior leads. It's very important. Inferior leads lead 2, 3, AVF. Because all they face the positive pole here, or the active electrode here, they all facing downward. That's why they are called inferior leads. They look at the inferior wall of the heart. So when there is abnormality here, ischemia, any damage here, abnormality here, infarction here, it will these leads will represent this abnormality. They will show the abnormality on these three leads. So abnormality in just one lead of these three is not make sense and it's not important. Could be due to normal variation. For example, sometimes you have flat T or T inversion in the healthy adults, or also in females without any abnormality. So we should have at least two of these leads, abnormality in two of these leads. The same abnormality should be present, for example, in lead 2, lead 3, lead 3, lead AVF, or 2 AVF. So at least we should have abnormality in two of these accompanied leads in order to say this abnormality is present. Okay. What about lateral leads? Lateral leads lead 1, AVL, V5, V6. As you can see, all these leads looks at the lateral walls of the heart. That's why they are called lateral leads. أنا say lateral acanthuchi, AVL, lead 1, أنا active exploding electrode can later, V5 and V6. So this tells you about lateral wall of the heart, or they are called lateral leads. Anterior leads وأنا نكلس anterior heart يعني anterior heart كان anterior wall of the heart V3 and V4, while V1 and V2 is septal, or they are also called right leads or septal leads. So this is the importance or significance of presence of 12 leads. Let's look at it again. This is lead 1 here, AVR. This is AVL. V5, V6. These are all lateral leads. 2, 3, 3 AVF. They are inferior leads. And we have V3, V4 anterior leads. V1, V2 septal one. The basic pattern of electrical activity across the heart. Shortly, we should discuss shortly these waves. What are these waves? Each one represents what? But here we will take them in detail. We have waves and intervals. For each lead, we have this. This is wave, and interval is the interval between two waves, for example. Here we have PR interval. أنا بس معك P wave جيبه atrial depolarization. Tell you atrial depolarization. Could you tell me what is this line here? What is this line? What is this? What is this? This is isoelectric line. In that time, as we said, there is no electrical activity. Okay, so this is P wave, atrial depolarization. There's no electrical activity after that. Later on, QRS complex, which is ventricular depolarization. There is no activity after that. And here is T wave, ventricular repolarization. Okay. Amateur PR interval. This is PR interval. Why it's called PR interval? It's because it's between it's the interval from the beginning of P wave till the beginning of R wave. So it's an interval from beginning of P أقلبه عليه راح حسابي okay تاكو beginning of R or Q كاتب beginning QRS complex يعني beginning depolarization ventricle كاتب beginning depolarization atriata beginning depolarization ventricle. So why we say PR? It's also called PQ, we can say, but it's mostly PR because sometimes we do not have Q waves. Q waves and only producing some or part of the leads cannot be seen normally. You cannot see in all the leads Q wave, or it's very small. Okay, so we said PR interval. If there is no Q, so from the beginning of the R, we will start here. Okay, this is PR interval. Why this is so important, PR interval? What did it tell you? بابين ساشتكي كمان PR segment. Don't mix these two. This is PR segment at the end of P till the beginning of QRS. While PR interval from the beginning of P. Okay. This is QRS complex, and this is ST segment. ST segment from the end of S till the beginning of T. End of S till beginning of T. وكل شي وكو أنا شون على PR segment ST segmentيش بوشي وهي segment ده كان كم ترم لإنترفال كان لكوتاية مود سبيكتوتا أولي أما جي لكوتاية إسكوتا أولي تيكا ST segment. So you have these two segments, PR segment, ST segment. Okay, let's come to another interval, which is also important. PR interval and QT interval are very important. What is QT interval? From the beginning of Q or beginning of QRS complex till the end of T. End of T. Till the end of T. QT interval. Could you tell me what's this QT interval? What does it tell you about? What's this PR interval? QT interval tell you about what? Silicon, هردوكي depolarization and repolarization of the ventricle. يعني كاتك هردو يعني action potential همو يتاغلوا همو duration action potential كتبيها كاتك depolarization and also repolarization of the ventricle. باش APR interval بيوتين PR interval silicon جيبيها it's mostly it's the period between what? Between the conduction of nerve of depolarization of electrical activity from sinoatrial node to AV node. سيريكا. نرى sinoatrial node تجيبو activeبو impulse inert action potential leaders impulse inert يدرسبو P wave. أما تشي electrical activity نربوشي أما atrial depolarization باش. هتاكو data إيرتشيا. تاكو ventricular depolarization يعني بيجوي تجيبه ventricular depolarization. كبو ventricular depolarization يعني ليرة AV node تجيبه active بو AV node conduction كي action potential كي بيجيشتو. So this is the period between what? Between the ياخدوكو delay كلا بيني تشيا بيني كاتيكا the wave will received by AV node from the sinoatrial node. So the time between the conduction of action potential from sinoatrial node to AV node. أجل prolong بيتشي بيه. يعني conduction خاطرة يعني كشيك من هيوانيا. أجل more than normal. Okay. كاتا معنا هم يباستر. Q wave تشيا يعني كالين Q the septal depolarization when the septum depolarized. Okay. أما لا رسمك بشان ثانية. R wave is the main ventricular depolarization. Main ventricular depolarization will be represented by R wave. But what about S wave? This is the late or end ventricular depolarization. Ama زیاتر بەشی بەیزەڵەکەیکە depolarize بێ S shape دروست دەکات بۆ بچووکترە. This is the same PQRST waves. ئەمە دوو دانە پیشانەیە لەسەر پێپەری ECG. وتمان ئەم ئینتەرڤەڵانە چۆن حسابیەکەین. How we know this interval is increased? We said PR interval is very important. How we know this interval is increased or not? وتمان لێرە حسابێکی بۆ ئێرە. That's why the paper of ECG are we have so many squares that it is graded in order to calculate the duration of this interval. As we said, if this interval increases, means there is a problem, there's a conduction defect. So by this we will find the abnormalities. For example, PR interval is normally 0.12 to 0.2. كواتا 0.12 to 0.2 seconds. If it is more than that, I'm 0.16, so it is normal. But if it's more than 0.2, what's here? يعني abnormal. It's called being prolonged PR interval. فهمان شو abnormality معناها QT prolonged بها and so on. Okay. كواتا أما بوجيبه by time duration يعني بكين أي أمشي in order to know amplitude or voltage. طبعا أما برستر بي وزياتر بي يعني شي يعني cell زياتر depolarize ياخد cell زياتر activity or electrical activity هي ماشا وكود بان أما ventricle activity cellular activity electrical activity زياتر لبروي نمبري سلطاني زياتر بويا برستر أجا برستر بو لا نورمال زياتر بوشيا due to hypertrophy لبروي سلطاني نمبري زياتر واش. So for the P waves, it's about 0.1 second and voltage. أما P is ناكا هم بزانن تيجينجا only the one that present bold PR interval 0.12 to 0.2 second. This is the duration. بو استا P is ناكا بزانن يعني P wave كاتيكا أوش تشيبه it's called peaked P wave for example in some abnormality atrial hypertrophy and so on. شتيك بان هي على P wave bifid P wave peaked P wave بو استا P wave نيا جاري نورمال كان بزانن PR interval مهمة بان 0.12 to 0.2 second. QRS complex gringa it's better to be within this range normally 0.08 to 0.10 second. It's narrow يا خوي QRS complex then wide بو more than 0.12 and more than 0.12 it's called what? Broad QRS أو دواي إيشونن الجاية تيتر كلينجا QT interval 0.35 to 0.43 second باشا ياخد الانسان 0.4 سي ملي second يا 0.3 0.4 second أماش كلينجا ماشي. You know conductive system of the heart and you know the sinus node is the pacemaker of the heart. خلينا نتعلم شوية كيو تشونو لتشوتي بيكاتونا ما ننالينه. وبيانالين conductive system of the heart. لبروي conduction يعني رؤية the conduction of the electrical activity will be done through them. And what is natural pacemaker? Sinus node is then our natural pacemaker active because activity start here. يعني هارد خوتانا زانن هر خوي تشيك هاد rhythm دروستكا خوي لي action potential دروستكا no need the nerve to make action potential nerve نية كا ببيتوي action potential درست به ومعناه ويك هارد تيج nerve supply نية نخير أما نالين هارد nerve supply نية أي what about sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic and parasympathetic do not generate impulse, but they do what? They increase, for example, or decrease the rate of contraction, force of contraction. باشا. أي شون action potential هارد رزبه. بيسي بنيرف نيوك مصل بنيرف supply have your action potential transfer. Instead, it has its own pacemaker, which is sinus node. Sinus node that could introduce the impulse, and then it will reach to the AV node and then go to other fibers. باشا. Depolarization spread over the atria to the AV node where there's a delay of conduction about 120 millisecond. أما أواك PR interval هي طبعا data era lerج delay كمان هي هرهم بيك وجه دروستك PR interval ليرو تاجاته era ماشي. Is sinoatrial node the only one that can create impulses of the heart? This is a question for you. تنها sinoatrial node ka on impulse دروستك اگر sinoatrial node إشي نكرت. Of course not. All the pacemaker, all the conductive system of the heart, all the parts can create or generate impulses. And why they do not generate impulse? Because in the presence of sinoatrial node, they cannot generate impulse because the impulse or the rate of depolarization or rate of action potential in the sinoatrial node is so rapid. What I mean by so rapid is more rapid than the other. That is why they cannot start the action potential. أما كaction potential دروستك ريتك أنا سريعة بيزنك أما active به ريتك أما سريعة ترى AV node. AV node كاتي active به when there is abnormality in the sinoatrial node or when it doesn't receive impulse from sinoatrial node, so it will begin to pace voluntarily يعني خوي شيكا impulse درستك أبي بجي أبي pacemaker كواتا بوشي سيدي كان بهوي أو ريتوا سيدي sinoatrial node كريتكي شخص بوصة beat per minute هونيا بس أوايك normal heart rate بلام that of atrial cell حتى أنا أجات عني بأtrial cell لواني impulse درستك AV node 45 to 50 beat per minute هاجن كما كات أم ريتا أنا زورا بي أدا بيستبوني كخوي active بي فليانا كخوي active بي only if sinoatrial node affected AV node شيكا تلبين بو بنجابي per minute كواتا heart rate هربر دوامة بي ضلي ناوستي بلام سيدي كان يخاوة about 50 beats per minute. Okay, if this not doesn't work, what about other? The bundle office can be a pacemaker, bundle branch, Purkinje cell, even myocardial cell, but it's about 30 to 35. يعني بريديكاتيكي سوري إبيت ولا أنا إبيتشي أقل باتها وحالتها أقل بردوان بيه أما تنها بوكاتي إيه يالتها خاصة نوع myocardial cell it could cause sudden death for example cause يعني heart becomes still or stop of beating. Okay. Sequence of activation. Activation of the ventricle begins 0.12 seconds after the atria. ذلك 0.12 seconds is needed or 120 milliseconds needed till the ventricle become activated after the atria. What is the importance of this delay? طبعا الديلي هي والله مهمة حتى كل سانو atrial node أجات AV node بيج قالوا AV node شوي delay كيفا أما بيك أما سوديتيا in order for atria to contract before ventricle. This is very important to assure maximum filling of the ventricle. If atria and ventricle both contract together, there will be no good filling of the ventricle, filling with blood. كاتنا طبعا خلينا باش بتشتنا يو بامبيكا كات أبي atria ventricle atria per ventricle معوية per ventricle contracta boy خوين بچێتەناو ventricle خوێنێکی باش بچێتەناوی پێش ئەوەی هەڵیبە. The sequence of activation within ventricle ensure efficient contraction and injection. And let's come later after depolarization, there's repolarization. Of course, repolarization will occur from the same area that depolarizes. It will start from the same area of depolarization. What do we mean in the same area? For example, the wall will repolarize first because the wall depolarize first. ما دام ما الولا depolarize هل مشتيكا repolarize باشا لا والله إنجا إيرا درانك تربو درانك تريش repolarize أي جوازي ما نشيل بين depolarization and repolarization. Repolarization spread in opposite direction over the ventricle to depolarization. Epicardial surface repolarize first. كما epicardium أما epicardium أما endocardium. كاتي depolarization نوعه endocardium depolarize بإنجا epicardium بلام لا repolarization بعكسه ها أم سهمة epicardium repolarize first then endocardium أو جواز من هيك بصح باش. As you know, the sinoatrial node action potential is different, that of atria different, AV node and Purkinje fibers on the ventricle all have different action potential, as you know. These different or heterogeneous action potential in different regions of the heart or across ventricle generate the ECG or surface ECG أو شوا ECG أنا ما شوا ويفو interval أنا ما نقول درست أكاد. This is again the ECG. Katak ECG tonakre majusli da kantara limpli da kantara involvent triangle درست بالا برای آتا أما limpli أما heart in the center. How the depolarization spreads or how these waves are produced or these QRS. As you know, the direction of depolarization of waves of depolarization are repolarized all toward what? Toward the cardiac axis. هموي بوشيوية زوربي صما كبركوية cardiac axis وتمان صمي electrical activity كان. كاتو the direction heart خوي سيريكا downward and toward the left باش. يكم step start شمان هي يكم sinoatrial node activated شي درست كر atria depolarized كاتا PWV درست كر باشا كأتريا هموي depolarized بطاو هردولا depolarized طبعا PWV سيركن بمشيها أتريا كهموي depolarized شي درست تبع isoelectric لأن لو كاتا there is no electrical activity ها مرابين أما ليرا PWV درست كر كاتيا أتريا contract بو عفوا أتريا depolarized بو أغا تانية بنا contract أو خلاناكي ليرا شي درست isoelectric line because أتريا ليرا شي بو depolarized بو طوعو ليرا no electrical activity كاتا أو شتي درست كر أم خاتك شا بيار segment باش أنجا دوها وتشيبو أما isoelectric line ليرا دوها وتشيبو after that أكر سيدي ومور سيد كان تشيبو QRS complex درست بهوي شي لبر away the wave of depolarization will come here this make QRS لبر away it's in the direction of the cardiac axis the direction toward the positive what will happen this large wave of R will produce and what about Q هل يصير أما Q تنبيالم Q here normally depolarization of the septum is from left toward the right فعشان كم جار left active بي انجا right كاتا تشيبه بمشي ويا أروكا ويليريا باشا electrical activities in this direction from left to right ما دام بوشوي كمك بيشواني جيا cardiac axis لبرو كم كيوي وبشو كمان بودرس وايد small because septum is thin باشا after that the wave depolarization will come here down got a ventricle main ventricular depolarization wave ما بودرس ها لبرو wave كا toward the apex of the heart باش أي دواي أول شي أبي دواي أول قرصير كان أم جاريت وقول في وقيرة باشا it will create this part of the airway كهات وقيرة بصروا it's opposite to the direction of the cardiac axis that's why it will come down باشا and later is waved here when the base of the heart will be activated or electrical activity reaching the base of the heart سيري ليرة وقيرة همجبه همجو كمك here opposite to the direction or away from the direction of cardiac axis so it creates this S which is small s okay this is basal or end ventricular depolarization شوية دروس هذه سان أنجاد همان شوية من repolarization sign will start from the same part of the ventricle أما دروس هذا T wave وليرة ventricle depolarize بس بيش أول من ventricle كاتر repolarize بو هردوكي طاو لا لا resting ياخد electrical activity ناقاتي لو كاتا contraction كاوا هيج بلام هيج electrical activity كمانية دوهاي أول شي مانها depolarization repolarization مانها resting باش